Hi guys, welcome back to Story Time with Mr. Carr. Before we get going today, I'd like to wish Daniel a happy birthday for yesterday. So sad we couldn't have been there in school to sing happy birthday to you, but I hope you had a great day. Anyway, it's a lovely day outside, I don't want to keep you hanging here. David and Tucky watched from their bedroom window. The single beam of the searchlight from the village circled the sky above them, hesitating and retracing as it patterned the darkness. They were alone in the house that night. Mr. Reynolds had been called out on home guard duty, and Anne went up to the village with him to warm up the soup for them. It happened like that once a week, and the boys were left to look after things on the farm. "Like firework night," said Tucky, resting his chin on his hands. And it was. There was the orange glow of fires, and the tracer from the anti-aircraft guns peppered the horizon with flashes and trails of hyphenated lights. They watched it as if it were a display. It was a long way away, very different from the London raids that both of them had been through. Here, someone else was being bombed, not them. "Tucky," David whispered, grabbing his arm. "What?" "Listen, can you hear it?" It was clear enough now, the deep throb of aircraft engines punctuated by spluttering. They leaned farther out of the window and craned upwards, scanning the night sky. It came from over the moor, and they saw it at the same time, a red flicker at first, and then 3 more lights floating down through the sky above the moor. But the throbbing and coughing had stopped now, and there was silence. "The searchlight," said David. "Why doesn't it come this way? They'll miss it." But the searchlight was carving up the sky above the village at that moment, and the boys followed the lights as they fell lower and lower until they disappeared behind the moor. "It's gone," said Tucky. "It's a German, wasn't it? Crashed. Must have crashed. It was going down all the time. There'd have been a bang, an explosion or something." Tucky pulled his head back inside. "Could have landed." Dave was thinking of the flat valleys on the moor. "Could have, you know. There's places where a plane could land out there. In the dark, with no engines." "Come on, Davy. It's come behind a hill, that's all." "And where's it now, eh?" "Come behind another hill. What goes down must come up. If it doesn't come up, it's crashed or it's landed, one or the other." Tucky saw the sense in that, and they both kept watch, searching the darkness where the lights had vanished. And that's what they were doing when they heard Mr. Reynolds' van splashing through the mud by the front gate. Tucky was downstairs first and threw open the kitchen door. Anne was standing there, taking off her scarf. "We saw a bomber, Anne, a German bomber. We heard it and we saw it. There were lights on, and Davy thinks it's gone down on the moor. There were lights and they were coming down all the time, and then they stopped. We saw it, honest we did, and the engines were chugging and popping." "Tucky, Tucky." Anne put an arm around him and brought him back into the light of the room. "Don't be so excited, Tucky. How often do I tell you must wear shoes on a stone floor? You catch cold that way." "What's up, Anne?" Mr. Reynolds came in behind her. "A plane's crashed," said David simply, getting in before Tucky could start up again. "Must have been one of their bombers." Mr. Reynolds smiled. "I've been on searchlight all evening, my dear, and we saw them bombing around Plymouth, but we never saw a plane. No one saw a thing." "You missed it," Dave said. "It was out over the moor, and your searchlight was up over the village." "Are you certain, Davy?" Mr. Reynolds had stopped smiling now. "Just got to be for certain, you know." "We heard, Mr. Reynolds, honest we did," Tucky said, feeling left out by now. "It sounded just like the bombers that used to sound in London, just the same." Mr. Reynolds and Anne looked at each other. "And the engines were popping, just like Tucky says." David could see they believed them now. "Popping," Anne said. What does it mean, this popping? Must mean the plane had engine trouble of some sort, said Mr. Reynolds, looking from one boy to the other. Could have been it. Was there any flames? Did you see any flames coming out of her? Just a popping, Tucky said. Then nothing, and the lights went out. Mr. Reynolds bent down and pulled the boys in towards him so that he could look into their faces. If there's been a plane down, I'll have to report it. There'll be the army and the police, and they'll be wanting to ask you questions, lots of questions. Now, think clearly, me dears. It must be for certain. Was there a plane? We saw it, Mr. Reynolds, David said. And you're sure it came down over the moor? The boys nodded. It was there, Mr. Reynolds, said Tucky. I promise. They're good boys, Jerry, Anne said. They would not lie. Oh, he knows that, my dear, said Mr. Reynolds, standing up. But the army doesn't know that, and neither do the police. They're the ones he'll have to convince. You did well to spot it, my dears, and I'll be off back to the village to report it. And they'll be bound to want to see you then. So, get off to bed with you both. Anne went upstairs with them, and they watched the glow of the fires on the horizon as Plymouth burned. She made them hot milk and sat on their bed while they drank it. It is a terrible thing they do, she said sadly, gazing out of the window. When I was young, I watched fires burning in my country too. It's a terrible thing they do. She spoke as the boys had never heard her before. You're not English, are you, Anne? David had wanted to ask her that for a long time, but the moment had never been right. I'm French, Anne said. I was French until I married Jerry. Now I am English like you, but I still think of France as my country. Like you, dearie, I know what it is like to lose a father in the war. She took their mugs and left the room quickly. Now I know why she hates the Germans, Tucky said quietly, as soon as her footsteps had reached the bottom of the stairs. And later, when they were in bed, Tucky could not help thinking about it. You're lucky. Lucky? If my dad was killed, I'd tell everyone. I'd be proud. I am proud, Tucky. Anne's proud too. But it's better to have a father alive than be proud because he's dead. Depends on your father, Tucky went on. And people like you, if your father's dead, like you more anyway. Do you like Anne more? Because her father's dead, David said. And me? What about me? We were friends years ago. Suppose so, said Tucker soulfully. And then he thought about the plane again. Davy, if that plane crashed, like you said, then there'll be men on board. There'll be Germans. Do you think we'll find them? I hope they're dead, David said. They must have killed hundreds of people in Plymouth tonight. I hope they're dead. They deserve it. Neither of them slept much that night, and they heard Mr. Reynolds coming back in his van some hours later. David thought of getting out of bed and asking about the plane, about what's being done, but he heard Anne and Mr. Reynolds talking together down in the kitchen, and somehow he didn't want to see Anne again that night. Tucky got out of bed and tried to listen through the floorboards, but he couldn't make out what they were saying. Then a floorboard creaked, and he scrambled back into bed. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Join us tomorrow for part 7. Have a happy Easter. Enjoy the weekend. Crack on with the work again on Monday or Tuesday. Contact me if you're in Slytherin through Seesaw. Everybody else, I'm at Mr. C Broadwood on Twitter. See you soon.